Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are going to be taking a look at The Atheist's Mass
Oh, yeah.
by Honore de Balzac.
It's a great story.
It is, and I think this one is really going to resonate with our listeners because it's really about human nature and gratitude and how those things sometimes can clash with our beliefs.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's so fascinating about it is it's set in the 19th century in Paris.
Oh yeah.
And this was a time of just incredible scientific advancement, but also like social upheaval.
Yeah, so like picture it, Paris is buzzing with new discoveries,
Mm.
medicine is like leaping forward, but at the same time, you still have this like really strong grip of tradition and faith
Right.
on society.
It's a really interesting kind of juxtaposition.
Totally. And right at the center of it all, we've got our main character, Dr. Desplain.
Yeah, Dr. Desplain, this brilliant
You're
surgeon.
genius.
Yeah, even his rivals considered him a genius.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, he's a staunch atheist. Like,
Yeah.
he views the human body purely as a machine.
And Balzac even compares him to a meteor, which is like a really strange comparison.
It is a little odd, yeah.
But I guess if you think about it, a meteor is brilliant and captivating, but only for a short time.
Yeah, it's like actors or singers, their fame is really tied to their living presence.
Right.
A surgeon's skill is incredible, but does it really leave a lasting impact?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that kind of leads us, I think, into Desplain's protege, Bianchon,
Right.
who I think is a really interesting character in this story.
Mm.
He's a young medical student just starting out, and he's drawn to Desplain's genius. But I think he also sees something more in Desplain
He does.
than other people do.
Yeah, he sees like this depth of character that maybe others miss.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of that is forged through their shared experience of poverty early on.
Right, they both know what it means to struggle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they're both coming from this place of really having to fight for everything.
Exactly.
So one day, Bianchon is walking across the Place Saint-Sulpice, and he sees Desplain sneaking into a church.
Uh-oh.
Not like in his fancy carriage, but like on foot almost. Like he doesn't want to be seen.
Interesting.
And this isn't just like a one-time thing. This is like a recurring event.
Wow.
Like 4 times a year for over 20 years.
That's a long time.
Bianchon is like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's very strange.
Why would this outspoken atheist, this man of science, be secretly going to Mass?
Right.
So finally, Bianchon just confronts him like, hey, what's up with this fit of monkishness?
Yeah, he's very direct about it.
He is. And I think this is where things start to get really interesting because it forces Desplain to open up about his past.
Right, to reveal a side of himself that maybe nobody really knows.
Exactly. And he starts talking about his early life and
Yeah.
the poverty that he experienced and the isolation, just constantly fighting to survive.
And it's during this period of his life that he meets Bourget.
Oh, yeah, Bouget.
He's this simple water carrier.
And he kind of becomes Desplain's savior in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he sees something special in this young, struggling student and decides to help him out.
And it's not just like a little help here and there.
Joe.
Like Bourget sacrifices his own dreams and comforts to support Desplain's education.
It's true, like he pays his rent, he buys some food, he even covers his exam fees.
It's really incredible when you think about it, like this willingness to put another person's needs before your own.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty powerful.
It is.
And Desplain recognizes this, even saying that Bourget understood that I had a mission and that the needs of my intellect were greater than his.
Right.
But there's this conflict too,
There is.
because Bourget is this devout Catholic.
Yeah.
Like his faith is unwavering, and Desplain, of course, is a steadfast atheist.
Right.
Yeah, but despite this difference in their worldview, they form this really deep bond.
And it's interesting because Bourget never tries to, like, convert Desplain or judge him for his lack of faith.
Yeah, and Desplain respects Bourget's faith and kind of recognizes the comfort and strengths it brings him.
Yeah, it makes you think about the power of human connection. That two people from such different backgrounds with different beliefs can still forge such a deep and meaningful relationship.
I think so too. And, as Desplain's career takes off, he never forgets Bourget. He even buys him like a horse and water barrel he always dreamed of.
Yeah, wow.
Which is a beautiful gesture.
It is.
But it also highlights this kind of tension between Desplain's gratitude and this inability to truly repay Bourget's kindness.
Yeah, can true generosity ever really be repaid?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something I think we're going to be coming back to
Yeah,
as we keep going.
definitely.
Because their relationship faces its greatest challenge when Bourget falls ill.
Oh, no.
And despite Desplain's best efforts as a physician, Bourget's health starts to decline.
This is really a turning point in the story.
Yeah, Desplain has achieved worldly success. He's like at the top of his game, but he's facing the loss of this person who really understood him
Right.
before anyone else did.
The one person who believed in him.
And it's in Bourget's dying moments that I think we see this other layer of complexity in Desplain's character.
Yeah.
Because Bourget, he's filled with anxieties about his soul.
Oh.
He fears that his life hasn't been saintly enough to deserve heaven.
Interesting.
And this is where I think Desplain's internal conflict becomes really, like, palpable.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't believe in an afterlife.
Yeah.
But he is so moved by Bourget's fears,
Right.
he can't bear to see him suffer.
Yeah.
So he makes him a promise
What does he promise him?
that he'll ensure that masses are said for the repose of his soul.
Wow.
This is an atheist
I know, that's incredible.
making this promise.
Like, he doesn't even believe in a soul, at least on the surface.
Right. But this act is so powerful.
It is.
It just speaks volumes, I think, about the power of gratitude and how it can transcend personal beliefs.
Right. It compels us to act in ways that maybe we wouldn't normally consider.
Totally. And it brings us back to that mysterious mass that Bianchon witnessed.
The-
It wasn't about Desplain, like, having a sudden religious conversion or anything. It was something much deeper. It was a tribute to Bourget,
Yeah.
a way to honor his memory
And fulfill that promise.
and fulfill that promise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this act, repeated year after year, it reveals this side of Desplain that most people probably didn't even grasp.
Yeah, like even Bianchon, who knows him so well, maybe didn't fully understand.
Exactly. And I think it begs the question, can we ever truly know the depths of another person's heart?
Or the motivations behind their action.
Yeah, like what drives someone to do something that seems so contradictory
Right.
to their beliefs?
It's a great question. Yeah, it's like he's wrestling with this question, can a gesture born of love and gratitude really hold meaning if it's rooted in a belief system that he rejects?
Right, and I think that really is like the core of what makes this story so compelling.
Yeah.
Right, we have this brilliant surgeon, a man of science and reason, and he's engaging in this act that seems to completely contradict his whole worldview.
And he does it so consistently for decades.
Yeah.
It's not just like a fleeting emotional response to Bourget's death. This is like a deliberate, ongoing commitment.
Yeah, and Balzac actually gives us this glimpse into his struggle. Right, he describes the Mass as the only thing I can do for Bourget to satisfy his pious wishes.
He even says, like, great God, if there is a sphere, remember good Bourget, and if he should have anything to suffer, let me suffer it for him.
Wow, that's pretty powerful coming from a self-proclaimed atheist.
It is.
It's like he's acknowledging a power beyond his scientific understanding.
Right, even if he can't fully embrace it.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, is it possible to honor someone's faith without necessarily sharing that faith?
That's a great question, and I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with, especially today, where beliefs can be so personal and often divisive. I mean, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you've had to reconcile your own beliefs with the beliefs of someone you care about?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And I think the Atheist's Mass really offers this nuanced exploration of that struggle. It doesn't provide any easy answers, but it really encourages us to think about the complexities of faith and doubt.
Yeah, and remember, we're talking about a time when atheism was a very controversial stance, especially in a society that was so steeped in religious tradition.
Right.
So for Desplain to not only acknowledge Bourget's faith, but to actually participate in this religious ritual, that's a huge statement.
It really speaks to the depth of his gratitude and the impact that Bourget had on his life.
It's like Bourget's simple faith chipped away at Desplain's atheism.
Yeah.
And created this space for maybe a little bit of doubt or even hope.
Right. And, Balzac doesn't explicitly say if Desplain's views on faith ultimately change.
Right.
But he does give us these little hints.
He does.
Bianchon, who's observing Desplain really closely, notices a change in him in his final days.
Like what kind of change?
He describes this, like, gentleness and
Yeah.
resignation that wasn't there before, almost a kind of peace that transcends the physical realm.
And then the story ends with Bianchon pondering whether Bourget, the simple water carrier, might have opened the gates of heaven for his friend.
Right, just like he opened the doors to a better life for him here on Earth.
It's such a beautiful and ambiguous ending.
It is.
It really makes you think about the mysteries of the human heart and the power of connection.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that Balzac chose to leave that ending open to interpretation.
Yeah.
It invites us as readers to engage with the story on this deeper level.
Right, and ask those same questions that Bianchon is wrestling with, like, did Desplain find some kind of spiritual solace in the end?
Right. Or did he maybe embrace a belief system that he had rejected for so long?
Those are questions that I'm still thinking about, and I bet you are too,
Definitely.
as someone who's always seeking like a deeper understanding of the world.
I think that's what makes a great story, right? It stays with you long after you finish reading it.
Totally. It makes you reflect and like, maybe challenge some of your own assumptions.
Yeah, it really makes you think, what would it take for someone like Desplain, who's so grounded in logic and science,
Right.
to actually question those beliefs?
I think it really shows the power of human connection.
Yeah.
Bourget's faith and his kindness, they really planted that seed of doubt in Desplain's mind.
Yeah, and it makes me think about how we often view science and faith as being like total opposites.
Right.
But Balzac is presenting, I think, a much more nuanced view.
He
As
is.
like they can coexist.
Within a single person. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about choosing one or the other.
Right. And that really resonates with like your interest in science and spirituality.
It does.
It's really about acknowledging the complexity of being human.
And the limitations of what we can really understand.
Exactly. And, it's interesting because Balzac doesn't shy away from the hypocrisy
No, he doesn't.
of Desplain's actions.
Right. Here's this. But he's not condemning him either.
No.
He's inviting us to think about why a person would act in a way that seems to contradict their beliefs.
Yeah, what's the motivation there?
And, that leads us to the ending of the story,
Yeah,
which Balzac leaves really ambiguous.
he does.
We don't know what happens to Desplain's soul, or even if he believes in one
Right.
by the end.
I think that ambiguity is really intentional.
Oh, yeah.
It makes us think about the same questions that Bianchon is asking.
Yeah, like, was there some kind of spiritual resolution for Desplain?
Right. Could even someone like him find peace?
And maybe that peace isn't about becoming Catholic,
Right.
but about something bigger?
Yeah, like a recognition of the interconnectedness of everything,
Yeah.
the power of love and gratitude,
And maybe even the possibility of redemption.
even for someone who seemed to have rejected faith completely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Atheist Mass,
Hmm.
what are your final thoughts?
Well, I'd like to leave our listeners with this. The next time you encounter someone whose beliefs seem to clash with their actions,
Yeah.
remember Dr. Desplain. Remember that everyone has hidden depths and unseen motivations, and there's a story there.
Beautifully said. And maybe like we can learn to question our own assumptions and really try to understand the world a little bit better.
It's a process.
It is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.